Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the Burke County Board of Commissioners Tuesday, July 16th, 2024 meeting here at the meeting room at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, we have our County Finance Officer, our County Attorney, our County Manager, Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Burns, and myself in attendance. Commissioner Carswell's in transit. He was delayed. He was at the National NACO Conference in Florida, and his flight got delayed. We've all been through that, so he should be arriving shortly, hopefully. And then Chairman Britton is on a mission trip, and so he is out of town tonight. So 3 commissioners are here. We have a quorum. I'll remind everyone that to silence all mobile devices, please. And then as you come to the front to speak, make sure you activate the microphone before speaking so it can be picked up on the YouTube recording, please. Well, we'll begin with the invocation. We're glad to see Pastor Tamika Garrison from Carolina Caring here. I'll ask her to lead us in the invocation, and please remain standing. And I'll ask our county attorney to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance as well.
Let us pray. God, we give you thanks for the ability to be here today, and we ask for your travel mercies to be upon those who are abroad and those who are rushing to get here. We thank you for the ways in which you've called us all to be here, both individually and collectively, and we ask that you be a constant presence in our lives as we continue to build a great community, learn from one another, and seek your guidance. Be with us now as we remind ourselves of all of the services that we have been called to help lead and organize and make this place a better place for all. It is in your name in which we pray. Amen.
Please join us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you, Pastor. Safe travels. Gentlemen, that brings us to the first item on the agenda, approval of agenda. We will be removing presentation number 3, so there will be an amended agenda because that gentleman is under the weather tonight. Any questions or corrections to the agenda besides that? If not, we have a motion to accept as amended.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. That's 3-0, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, that'll bring us to a list of approval of meeting minutes under item number 5. We're looking for approval of meeting minutes of March 7th, 2024, Board of Commissioners recess meeting. March 8th, 2024, Board of Commissioners recess meeting. March 19th, 2024, Board of Commissioners regular meeting. April 2nd, 2024, Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting. And April 16th, 2024, Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the meetings as minutes as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that carries 3-0. Well, gentlemen, that brings us to presentations. Our first presentation we see at the front of the room up here. Caitlin Suttermeyer, our Animal Services Director, has a very happy dog with her this evening. How are you?
I'm doing well. I hope you guys are. Thanks again for having us back for our Pet of the Month. For our July Pet of the Month, we have chosen Snoopy. Look at his professional photo. Isn't he adorable? This guy is pretty high energy. I don't know if you can tell that whatsoever. It needs a little bit of work on his training. We've worked with him a little bit, but his nose seems to distract him somewhat. So I would say that he may be a little difficult to work with, but with some dedication, he is going to make somebody a wonderful pet. I do think he would do best in a home with other dogs. That seems to wear him out a little bit, and he can focus a little bit better. So we do plan to take him home to my house this evening and let him run around and get some energy out. So hopefully we can find him the perfect family this week. As you can see, he's cheerful, and he's a beautiful dog. He's actually been with us for about 3 weeks, which is kind of a long stay for a dog that's as beautiful as him. So if you're in the market and looking to adopt a dog, I would recommend coming down to meeting Snoopy or any of the other wonderful dogs that we have at Animal Services. As always, we never want to leave out our kitty cats. There is Ketchup. If you guys are not familiar with summertime in Burke County, it is kitten season. You can probably walk outside and pick one out of a tree right now. So they are just everywhere. We are full of kittens. And like I said, we do have $0 adoptions through Saturday. So if you are looking at adding a kitten to your family, please come and visit us. Ketchup is going to be we did want to update you guys on just a few little stats from the last 6 months. In the last six months, we've taken in 979 animals to Animal Services. And that's quite a few. We do have 16 dog kennels and 24 cat cages. But this year we have been able to implement quite a few proactive programs to help keep pets with their families. And with that, we've actually won some really great life-saving awards. So one of the things I did want to bring to your attention, the first 6 months of 2023, our euthanasia rate was not very high, but we did euthanize 335 animals in the first 6 months of 2023. This year, the first 6 months, that number's been 97. So these proactive programs are working as far as life-saving is concerned, and we are seeing a lot of community engagement and a lot of people returning for services for help with their animals. So we did want to share that with you guys. Due to those efforts, if we want to move on to the next slide, we did receive an award last week that came with a $12,500 grant. And it's the Life Saving Trailblazer Award, and that was awarded to a group of individuals and organization that was blazing the trail and saving lives. So we were really excited to receive that award. As always, if you're interested in learning more about what we do and our life-saving programs, this is how you can reach us, and we did include our Pet Finder link if you're in the market of finding a new pet.
Caitlin, on that award when you went, obviously you know the good work you've been doing, but was it a surprise that they let you know you were receiving that award before you went all the way to Orlando?
No, so I did receive a scholarship to the conference, which I didn't apply for, so I thought that was a little bit of an indicator there. But no, I did not know that we were going to receive that, so it was a surprise. It was my executive leadership group. That was the group of individuals that got to apply for these grants, and I was chosen out of 10 cohorts, so about 300 people. So we're really excited to be a recipient of that.
You got a 5-year anniversary coming up?
We do.
Since we created Animal Services?
Yes, we do. We have a 5-year anniversary coming up. I think we're going to be doing some celebrations with our foundation and presenting to you guys about all of our accomplishments that we've done over the last 5 years. So we're really excited about that.
Jen, questions, comments? Okay.
I believe that dog would be a wonderful companion for the Burke County Public Schools Finance Director Keith Lawson sitting back there. Just drop him off on the way out.
We can make it happen. We're open till 7.
I don't think I see you smiling back there very much, Commissioner Snell. Any other questions or comments, Jim?
Just want to say congratulations on the award and thank you for the efforts that it took to
Staff and all your volunteers too, because you have countless volunteers who want to recognize them, rescue folks. They do a tremendous job. So thank you.
Absolutely. This is definitely a community effort. It is not one person. It's not just our team. It's everybody involved to get that award. So thank you.
Well, congratulations and thanks for bringing Snoop and Ketchup.
Yeah.
Snoopy Dog.
I'm sorry, Kate, but he's got to go now.
Well, gentlemen, after that, it's going to be a little bit of a letdown. That was exciting. No pressure on you, Scott Black. So our next presentation is going to be Scott Black, our IT director. He's going to give us a departmental update.
How you doing, everybody? Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, Commissioners. Just want to give you a brief update on the IT department, what's going on with us. So following the Commissioner's Strategic Plan, we thought about just looking at some of the things we've done recently, kind of tend to fall in these focus areas, but honestly, probably different times we probably hit all 5 of them. In there. So the IT department currently is 15 staff across the IT and GIS division. So we have 3 IT technicians, which are first line support to all the county staff, 2 senior techs, our second level. They also work on our network, phone system, radios, things like that. We have 3 systems administrators that manage servers, networks, cybersecurity, user account creation, and then all our different applications that the departments use. And then we have administrative assistant, then myself and our system director. So GIS is made up of 4 staff. We have 3 GIS technicians. One's currently a vacant position that handles all the property mapping. We handle street addressing, other projects. I work for broadband maps for the CAP grants we just recently approved, things like that. Our 911 GIS MSAG specialist, she's based over 911 center, and so she takes care of maintaining all the data layers that update, keep the CAD system working properly. So overall, we manage the tech needs of 750 employees in the county. We can break fix hardwares, deploy new equipment, create email accounts, maintain all the servers, cybersecurity, and then backing up our data, which currently I looked at our backup, we're storing 57 terabytes of data. And somebody told me this, says, well, what is a terabyte? And I tried to think of how, so with this, if you were to print this out on sheets of paper, the stack would be 2,250 miles tall, or roughly the distance from New York to Las Vegas. So it's a lot of data. We manage 75 servers across the environment, about 900 devices, laptops, desktops, computers, about 1,200 different software applications, 350 things, mobile devices, cell phones, air cards, MiFis, and then radios, all the county sheriff EMS radios. We help with programming the volunteer fire departments, Count Valdez. Total in the county right now we have 1,946 radio IDs that are active. So this year we started to take over management of county cell phones, essentially manage those, make sure they're distributed out, that all appropriate staff who need them have those devices. And also the same thing with public safety radios. So we're kind of coordinating that, making sure that we get them on a proper replacement schedule and just making sure that all the people who need them have devices they're working when they need them. We've also been working on aligning our equipment replacement schedules with the capital improvement plan that we set up. And so we're looking out 5 to 10 years to see when servers are going to be out of date, when network equipment is going to reach end of life, make sure that we're getting it on the plan to replace it before is at that point. And we're also planning to conduct a strategic plan, which will help us outline our goals and initiatives, and give us basically put us on a good roadmap, so we can make sure to plan out to support the technology needs for the county. So our largest project this past year was replacing the Human Resource Center network. And obviously that's the biggest concentration of employees in the county. And we spent about 2 months getting all the switch configurations and planning out how we would do this and get it all done, prepared and ready to go. We did it all, the switch over on the weekend of January 13th. So that included 14 48-port network switches, 2 UPS batteries. We had to reconnect 350 network jacks, and we installed 24 wireless access points, which I believe the building before had 9 wireless access points in it. So coverage was pretty sparse. So now we've got good coverage in the whole building. So here's a quick picture of it. On the left side there is how it looked before, and you can see kind of over the years you get kind of a rat's nest of wiring gets out there. Second, there's when we pulled it all out, and then putting in moving all the cables over, and then on the end there is a nice clean cabinet, which is, hopefully will stay that way for a good long time. Fortunately with that project, we came in, we had it over the Martin Luther King holiday weekend, so we had a little extra day there just in case we had any problems, but we didn't. Staff came back on Tuesday morning and were able to go right back to work, and there are a couple of minor issues to deal with, but that went really smooth. We also, this network replacement projects in the Foothills building, except for Parks and Rec, elections, EDI in the conference center. We had a lot more Wi-Fi coverage in the building, sheriff's office and Morgan Library, same things there. Put some stats on about cybersecurity. So I got some of these from the CI program, and just kind of talked about over the state over the past few years. You can see there's definitely been a consistent increase in cyber incidents, and unfortunately we have not had a significant cyber incident. And but downtime has increased 200%, and the average public sector cybersecurity incident costs anywhere from $700,000 to $1.5 million to remediate and get back up and running. So right now we spend about $300,000 of our operational budget on cybersecurity tools, security software, monitoring systems, things like that to help keep the bad guys out. Continue on that, probably the biggest threat we see is stuff that comes in through email. It's just it's an easy target. Social engineering, ransomware, phishing, or business email compromise are the biggest thing. Here's the stats here from our dashboard email monitoring system. This is a new program we just put in place, and you can see over the last 30 days that 333 threat messages that came in. And then this quote here, answer not just to have a strong and secure system, but to have personnel who are trained to recognize the threats and essentially create a human firewall. We can put a lot of technology in place to try to protect us, but it's a simple person. It's really important that our staff, and the staff do a great job at that. So, talk about another thing we use, is security awareness training. So we've got a software program. We pass this around once a year. We started back in July 2018. So everybody with an email account gets enrolled in this training, and it takes probably about 45 minutes to go through the training sessions for most folks. They can do it in chunks. But it has topics including securing the passwords, how to handle phishing emails, learn about social engineering. Part of that same tool, we send monthly phishing tests out to all employees. I know you guys, some of you have received them. And one thing I'm really proud of is that our phish-prone percentage is down at that 1.4%. The industry average for local governments is 4%. So that's just really good. Our employees take care in that. So one of the things we've been working on is working to improve customer access, especially with our website. So a lot of departments have got forms up, different things like that. So more specifically with community development, building inspections, to try to make the site easier to use for the public, better defined. So you can see here, one of the things we changed is we came in and we made these nice big buttons on the website. So somebody's looking for a commercial permit application. Before it was just hidden in kind of a wall of text. It's hard to find. The next thing we did is we created, working with the department to kind of redo the forms, make them what PDF fillable forms. They still have to save them and email them in or to us and things like that. So it's not electronic submission yet. It's a goal we're working toward, but trying to make it a little easier for folks to fill them out, send them in the department so they can then get that moving on. Go about the GIS department a little bit. So this past year we upgraded our parcel mapping tools to ArcGIS Pro. we've used the Esri ArcGIS software line for, well, since I started. And they've moved up to this newer software, so we need to upgrade the tools we use to do the parcel mapping to the most current version of the software. We've been creating some web app tools, some browser-based mapping tools. Done several for tax appraisal department to help them with analyzing their neighborhoods, looking at sales data, things like that. We continue to work with them to refine those. We've also been looking at field maps, which are a tool that we can run on a employee's cell phone. And specifically, we've been working with environmental health for when they go out and do their septic tanks, wells, and things like that. They go out in the field and mark a location, and then it puts that data right on a map. The idea being is that we build a inventory of where the actual wells and septic tanks are, overlay that and that history. And then we've got, talking to them, the plan is to take all their old paper records and be able to digitize those and georeference and put them on the map so you can have that historical data as well. And then for parcel mapping, for a long time we've had a backlog. We've been months behind the restaurant needs, and it's always been a struggle. We catch up a little bit and then it slows down. But I have to say that we have eliminated our backlog. We are able now, staff has been able to process and map most deeds within 1 day after it's been reported to register deeds. So we get it the next day, we get it on the map. It's available for the tax office to do their evaluations and get that on the system. So we've kept that up for the last 6 months. And then I've got some stats here from some prior years. So we tend to average about 5,000 or so documents a year that need transfers of some type, whether it's a name change or a split or a combined property. That's it. Any questions?
That's all in the last year. Wow.
That's last year.
Gentlemen, questions, comments from Scott?
I just want to say thank you to you and your team for the job you do, and the fact that I haven't been in email jail now in probably 6 months.
Well, that's good. There you go.
I'm learning.
All right.
I think we're all in that. It's called delete. And one thing I did want to mention, I'm going through it pretty quickly, but we've been working on trying to get broadband here for so long. But the only way we could get it in front of the line is because of the work. Part of the reason is because of the work your IT's department did. It's locating the rooftops, creating heat maps, and it's pretty to look at, easy to look at after you've done the legwork. But without that, we wouldn't be where we are with CAP. So I did want to mention that as well.
Thank you.
And I'd like to welcome Commissioner Carswell, who's been on a dead run from Orlando all the way today. So good to see you, my friend. Any other questions, gentlemen? Not. We have a motion to accept the report as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept as presented.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. And as we said with the amended agenda, item number 3 we're going to move that to next month, Madam Clerk. Thank you. That'll bring us to scheduled public hearings. Item number 7, Community Development Zoning Map Amendment ZMA 2024-04, and hold a public hearing. This will be presented by Alan Glines, our Planning Director and Assistant County Manager. How are you, Alan?
I'm quite well, thank you, Commissioners. Nice to see you all. I want to thank Scott as well for all the help. They've done an amazing job to help us get our site, community development, kind of worked out. Continuous improvement, we've got more to do, but we're making good progress as we are so far. We have a rezoning request, and this is from Mr. Tyler Campbell. It's for property located at 796 Lenore Road. This is North Carolina 18 US 64. If I can have the map adjusted, please. Move the map up. Mr. Campbell is requesting 8.63 acres to be rezoned from residential 2 to general business. Now, a few years back in 2021, he had purchased that property And he asked the Board of Commissioners for rezoning for about an acre and a third. And that was approved, and he's established his tree business out there, and he'd like to expand it. So he'd like to take the rest of that tract to the back and have that rezoned from residential to the general business. So the site's in red there. You can see the wooded area in the back that would pretty much match the zoning request line. Next slide, please. This is the current zoning that surrounds that area. It's kind of a mix of different types of things, including general business, plus residential in the surrounding area. So a lot of our major corridors throughout the county kind of have a mixed character of commercial uses and residential uses. And part of that is City of Morganton, the edge of City of Morganton right there. Next slide, please. Future land use map trends with the current zoning, and so that's currently shown as a residential kind of infill zone. We took this request to the planning board for their consideration, as we do with all rezoning requests, and they felt like it was a supportable kind of request, and they moved to approve that with a vote of 6-0 to recommend approval. If it is approved, this future land use map will be adjusted to be general business. I can answer any questions for you if you have any.
Jim, any questions for Alan? There being none, thank you, Alan. We will now hold a public hearing. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this issue? There being none, I will close that public hearing. Gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-13 as it's related to ZMA 2024-04, request to rezone 8.63 acres of land located at 796 Lenore Road, Morganton, North Carolina, and corresponding to PIN number 2705307-320 from residential 2 R2 to general business GB zoning district. The board finds that the rezoning is consistent with the intent of the blueprint of Burke land use plan and the future land use map because of the range of uses in this area. The land use map shall be adjusted to general business. Furthermore, the board finds that the request is reasonable and in the public interest because Lenore Road corresponds to US 64 NC 18. It is North Carolina minor arterial road and a main travel corridor between the city of Morganton and the city of Lenore. The subject property is located in the immediate vicinity of several existing light industrial and commercial businesses and adjacent to GB property. Approval of the rezoning would help the existing business expand and provide more jobs and services to Burke County.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnes. All those in favor of the motion signify with an uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that carries 4-0. Thank you, gentlemen. That'll bring us to Section 8, informal public comments. I'll now open the floor for informal public comments. If we do have any speakers tonight, I'll just remind them they do have a 3-minute time limit. I see the light is on the lectern, so Madam Clerk, do we have anybody that wishes to speak?
We have one, Mr. Vice Chairman, Mr. Tim Buck.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good evening, fellow Burke County citizens and Board of Commissioners. Second, thank you for the opportunity to come and address you this evening. It's over the proposed 0.25% sales tax that you're looking at putting on a bond referendum for this fall. I want to point out a couple of things. One is, I worked really hard in 1983, I think it was, to get what was called the Blue Ribbon for School sales tax passed. And I'm all about the sales tax because that is one of the most fair taxes we have. There's no discrimination in it. We all pay that rate when we go through the line. That percent on that sales tax we passed that time worked quite well to be used on the public school buildings in Burke County. A program that worked quite well for many years. Still coming in at quite a bit of a clip. This board was one of the boards last year that talked the legislators into being able to reallocate that money without any consideration for the people of Burke County who voted for that money to be used on the school buildings in Burke County. It was used to give school employees pay increases, pay bonuses, stipends, and I think also to replace some low wealth money, if I'm not mistaken, that was cut by the legislators. My understanding is this year that that money has been replaced in the budget from the low wealth. One of the concerns that I have is, is this money going to be put back into that pot of sales tax money where it was intended to be used at? May or may not be. But the thing I wanted to say now is about this 0.25% sales tax that you're putting on the bond referendum for this fall, wanting to put on there. It's some hard times in Burke County right now. There's some people who are not as fortunate as many of us are, who are really struggling to put groceries and food on the table. And 0.25% may not sound like much, and I know that's on the taxable stuff that's not edible. So let me clear that before somebody corrects that. But that's on the clothes and items like that you buy. 0.25% may not sound like much, but it's a lot in the mix to what's going on out here today. Given this board's past history of increasing taxes, don't allow another tax to be put on the ballot for this fall to be another burden on the people of Burke County. That sums it up. It's hard to unpack all that in 3 minutes, but that's it in a nutshell. I ask you not to consider putting that on the ballot for this fall. Thank you for your time and listening.
Thank you, Mr. Buff. Madam Clerk, any other speakers?
That's all I have, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll close this portion of the meeting. This will bring us to item number 9, consent agenda. I will turn it over to our county manager, Brian Epley, to review the items on the consent agenda, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Several items for consideration. First, several are appointments and reappointments from our clerk. Item 1 is 4 reappointments to our Animal Services Advisory Board. Each of these have been provided ahead of time and are in your packet for review and consideration. Item 2 is appointment and a reappointment to 2 seats of 8 for the Child Protection and Child Fatality Prevention Team. Item 3 is consideration of appointment to our local Emergency Planning Commission. I would point out that this item includes an exception to Section 2-88, the membership requirement and the residency requirement. If you notice, the member lives in Taylorsville. That is a regional approach. Item 4 also is a reappointment to the Regional Aging Advisory Committee. That would be 1 seat. Item 5 is a reappointment to Burke County Smart Start. That would be an existing member who currently works in the Department of Social Services. Item 6 is a resolution appointing and removing for both Glen Alpine and Drexel plat review officers. Item 7 for consideration is an appointment to the Morganton Planning Board, ATJ. Item 8 is approval for utility easement for the town of Valdez. There's a housing development that requires an easement. The town received a sizable sewer grant a few years ago, and this is to maintain that. Item 9 is request for written agreement between Home Trust Bank and Drowning Creek Volunteer Fire Department. They have financed some land, are in the process of paying that back, and it's customary with Home Trust Bank. They require written revenue confirmation. Item 10 is your monthly tax release and refund report for June 2024. And finally, for consideration, item 11 is your tax collection report. I would happy to announce that the current year tax collection reached 98.8%, which exceeded last year's 98.6%, and I believe is the highest we've ever had. I'm very proud of that team for that performance. That concludes the consent agenda. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. County Manager. Gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that carries 4-0. All right, gentlemen, this brings us to Section 10, items for decision. Item number 1, Burke County Public Schools approval purchase of real property. This will be presented by our friend Keith Lawson, who is not leaving with a dog, apparently.
Happy you made it in safely, Mr. Carswell. I'm going to simply read the summary of information for the two parcels for your consideration this evening. But upon conclusion of that, I'm certainly happy to expand or answer any questions you may have. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 115C-426F, the Burke County Board of Education requests the Board of Commissioners approve the purchase price of $1 million for 6 parcels totaling 43.1 acres on Huffman Avenue in Conley Springs for the potential construction of a new East Burke Elementary School. Parcel number 2, the Board of Education requests that the Board of Commissioners approve the purchase price of $1.5 million for a 2.831 acre parcel located at 305 West Union Street, Morganton, for use as a new administrative building for the Burke County Public School System.
Gentlemen, any questions for Keith?
Mr. Chairman, I got several questions. Keith, I want to go back. It was a few years back when Randy was the chairman of the school board and I was chairman of this board. We actually purchased some property in consideration for a new school. What happened to that property?
That Stiff, it's commonly known as the Stiff property because it was in that family for so many, many years. We do still own that property. It is adjacent to East Burke High School, and the current Board of Education does not want to build the new East Burke Elementary School at that location due to 2 factors, and one that being traffic issues that are anticipated, as well as the gas line that runs through the property.
Did we not consider the gas line when we bought that property?
We did, yes. It's still buildable property, I think, and I shouldn't speak for the board, but I know they've had discussions about the concerns of the traffic issues, having an elementary, a middle, and a high school clustered right there together.
Any future plans for that property?
Excuse me?
Any future plans for that property?
No, sir, not at this time. It does adjoin East Burke High School. I will say that. But I'm aware of no use or planning or plans for a use for that property for the near future.
Okay, the building that you want to buy out of town, what's the square footage in it and how does it compare to the space that you're leasing from us now?
The proposed facility in town for the administrative building is about 33,000 square feet. We currently are in about a 14,000 square foot facility. What this will allow us to do, we have a lot of outliers, just as you, the county, do because of lack of space, where you have people stuffed in closets. We have administrative people, non-school, that are in school offices, and we intend to bring all of those departments under one roof.
I think that will last you for a number of years. That 33,000?
Yes, sir. That's more than ample space for us to consolidate all departments that the administration wishes to consolidate under one roof, and should serve our purposes for many, many years to come.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Lawson, what's the timeline on that move?
Upon approval by you, the commissioners, the clock starts. We're in our due diligence period. We anticipate hopefully to close on that facility within 60 days from this date, actually. We're having a survey done and a phase 1 environmental study done. And according to our architect, if bidding, design, everything went as planned based on his timeline of doing these types of projects for many years, he anticipates our move-in date would be in spring of 26.
Okay, and just make sure it's clear for everybody out there, this acquisition does not involve any of the lottery funds that were awarded, $42 million for the new elementary school, correct?
No, sir, this does not. the $42 million lottery fund that we received, that goes towards the construction specifically, solely, and only for a new elementary school.
I understand. I just want to make sure it's clear.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, but it's mainly directed to the county manager, Mr. Epley. How does this impact the overcrowding at the DSS Health Department? And is this going to help alleviate maybe some of the cost of having to build a new Health and Human Services or DSS? Can you explain that to us, sir?
Yes, so as Commissioner Carswell and Mr. Lawson mentioned, those two school central office is located in that same building. It's about, the total gross square footage of that building is about 65,000 square feet. 14,000 of it roughly is assigned to the school system. The county commissioners in 2020 facilitated with Mosley Architects' help a building study that ranked each of our buildings on 6 of their systems, mechanical, structural, so forth, and that was one of the lowest scoring buildings we had. On top of that, we have a ton of folks, roughly 50 folks that are required to work remotely because of not space, and we've acquired for adult protective services about 35 people that were working in the tax office that will be working across the street. And I know I'm being elongated, I apologize, but the county recently concluded a space analysis with a professional space planning firm that concluded that those two departments needed about 92,000 square feet. So even with the exodus of the school system, the 65 still doesn't cover it, but it certainly goes a long way in elongating the utilization of that building and helps in that regard. I think the timing will actually synchronize pretty well with evaluating how that building is going to function long term. So I hope that helps.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And for those of you that don't know what we do up here, we meet with our friends at the school board on a quarterly basis. We've been discussing this for many years, and we're always discussing space needs, personnel needs, unanticipated, budget coming up. So we cover all these things, and so we don't suddenly make, moves in a quick way. This is all very methodical, and so we've been talking about this for years and years and years, and so this has been ever evolving. So in this space that came uptown, well, not too long ago, is a perfect space for where you are. It's actually going to be more convenient parking and all that as well. So it's a win-win for the school system and for the county. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reiterate that this does go back at least to when I was made board chairman of the Board of Education in 2013. And I think the conversation happened every year. The only question I have for you about the 28 acres that are located beside of East Burke High School, is there any plans or any discussion about declaring that surplus?
Not at this time. I mean, that could be a possibility, but we have had no discussions on any particular use or purpose or future for that parcel.
The only thing I would ask is that you entertain the thoughts of surplusing that, giving the county the first right of refusal, and see if we can't develop that into something that goes back on the tax roll if you're not going to use it for a school.
Sir.
Jim, any other questions, comments? Keith, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the Board of Education's purchase of real property located on Huffman Avenue in Colony Springs for $1 million and at 305 West Union Street, Morganton, North Carolina 28655 for $1.5 million as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. Motion carried 4-0, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Keith, you have a good evening. Thank you, sir.
You as well.
Number 2, appointment to the planning board presented by A. Drone. Clerk.
Excuse me. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for letting me present this item to you tonight. This is a request to make an appointment to seat number 5 on the Burke County Planning Board. That is an at-large seat, and the term ends September 30th, 2025. You have 3 applicants to consider: Andrew Loudermilk, Buddy Vance, and Gregory Smith.
Gentlemen, these folks have asked to be appointed, but before we do that, I do need to open the floor for any other nominations. So gentlemen, at this time, I'm opening the floor for any other nominations. Are there any other nominations for the planning board? There being none, I will now close the floor for nominations. Gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint Andrew Loudermilk to the planning board.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Are there any other? All right. Gentlemen, all those in favor of appointing Mr. Loudermilk, signify with your uplifted hand, and that motion carries 4-0, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, that'll bring us to decision item number 3, resolution regarding Kroger opioid settlement. This will be presented by our friend Brian Epley. More opioid money.
Thank you, Commissioners. As you're all well aware, North Carolina's been incredibly successful through both local leaders, local legislators, and the Attorney General's office in securing settlements to combat the opioid crisis. This is the latest round with Kroger. Back on June 27th, we received a letter from the Attorney General's office. We're required, similar to the first round of these settlement agreements, this is roughly a $40 million allocation to North Carolina, which is our proportionate share of $1.37 billion settlement in total with Kroger. Of the $40 million, roughly $713,000 will come to Burke County between 2025 and 2034. In order to sign on, however, this board has to adopt a resolution doing so by August the 12th, which is why it's on your agenda for tonight. So really very similar to the other settlements that we've received. As you're all aware, they're being paid out over 18 years. This is a shorter time frame, certainly a less material amount of money, but $713,000 will also go a long way in making a difference to some of the strategies that are being worked on here in Burke County. So again, resolution required to sign on. Kroger settlement, $1.37 billion, $40 million coming to North Carolina, $713,000 that to Burke County. So another win, big success for our state, big success for Burke County. Obviously, Commissioner Carswell was a big part in getting this rolling down this street. So happy to answer any questions you may have, but the consideration is adopting this resolution.
Gentlemen? Questions, comments? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-15 and authorize the county manager or county attorney to execute all documents necessary to enter into the opioid settlement agreements with Kroger, to execute the SAAF-2, and to provide such documents to Rubris, the implementation administrator.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that motion carries 4-0. Gentlemen, that brings us to decision item number 4, resolution regarding Article 46 sales tax. And this will be presented by fellow Commissioner Randy Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kind of go back to my childhood here just for a second. My dad always told me that when you plant a garden, you don't plant one tomato plant, one cucumber plant. I guess you can see where I'm going with that. We need to diversify our income. If you put a toolkit together, it does consist of only a hammer. You got to have a screwdriver. You might need a wrench. You might need a pair of pliers. We need to take the burden off the property owners in this county. And I prepared a little bit of statement that I'd like to just read. So it starts out, good evening, everyone. I don't know if I did that or not when I started. I'd like to speak about the importance of placing Article 46 on the ballot this November. This decision can't be made in the back room. Rightfully so. It has to go to the voters. Putting Article 46 on the ballot is about respecting our democratic principles and the wisdom of our people. I would never deny our people an opportunity to vote on something as important as this. We have a community that values tradition, responsibility, and the right to have a say in important matters. By allowing voters to decide, we ensure that the outcome aligns with the voters' values and priorities. This move also upholds the principles of limited government. It prevents a small group of officials from making decisions that affect all of us. Instead of placing that power where it rightfully belongs with the people. Trusting voters to make the final call reinforces our belief in individual responsibility and local control. In conclusion, placing Article 46 on the ballot is a clear affirmation of our commitment to democracy, our conservative values. It ensures that the voices of our community are heard and respected. Let's trust our voters and allow them to decide which direction that we're going to go with Article 46. And I just want to say again quickly, this past year, our sales tax would have generated $3 million with this 0.25% sales tax. That equates to 3 cents on our property tax rate. There's a lot made about the fact that property values went up back at the last reval, and they did. And I'm one of the ones that are paying for that. But the ones you don't hear from are the ones who didn't go up, or the ones whose property taxes actually went down. The only persons that you hear are folks like me that mine went up significantly. But I also know that there's some that stayed the same and some that went down, and I hear from these people day in and day out. I just want to make sure that we all understand there's no way to set a property tax rate that is going to make everybody a winner. It just doesn't happen. If let's say we have 50,000 different property owners, that would be 50,000 different property tax rates, and you just can't do that. And I will go back to say that I'm proud that we lowered the tax rate 20%. We kept the additional revenue under 7%, right about 7%, which was about half of inflation. So I think we did a responsible job last time, and I am so grateful we were able to hold that rate this year, thanks mostly, largely, and solely to the hard work of our county administrator and his staff, the zero budget approach that they take to developing that budget. He has found millions of dollars in savings this year, and that's what allowed us to hold that rate, even in this inflationary time. So I say let's vote to give the voters a vote. Do you want to take the pressure off of the property owners in this county, gather revenue from the 13,000 plus people who drive into our county, whether they be commuting or just visiting or vacationing on a daily basis? That 0.25%, if you go to home, or I'll use Rural King as an example because it's the only one in the area and a lot of people drive here from a lot of places to shop there. If you go in and spend $100, instead of your bill when you walk out that door being $106.75, it'll be $107. I had breakfast the other morning. I sat there and I've been kind of doing this as I go along. My breakfast would have cost me an extra 2 cents. And if we can use that and take $3 million worth of pressure off the people who own property, you shouldn't be penalized because as you go through your life, you become more successful and have more stuff. Let's let those who live outside of our county, that commute here every day, that use our services and our resources, let's let them help pay for some of it. So, Commissioners, I would ask you to support adding an Article 46 referendum to the ballot this November.
Just following up, and I didn't know what the presentation was going to be, Randy, but I got to thinking about this too. Just a fact, you know, Ed Phillips comes before us quarterly and shows us a report that, you know, visitors generate $130 million inside Burke County. That's a considerable amount of money we're leaving on the table that can help us lower and diversify our tax rate. And so, you know, let them do it. And every time you go to Catawba County, and I like Texas Roadhouse and a lot of other restaurants down there. Johnny turned me on to that years ago with a gift card. Spend a lot of money in there, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm paying it down there. Every time you go to Catawba County or Blufford County or Caldwell, you're paying the tax, and a lot of people do that. And so are a lot of our citizens too, and I got to thinking about the COG numbers that show the graphics where how many people are commuting out of Burke County going to Catawba County working every day. Was it a little over 6,000 per day, Johnny? And so those people are there eating lunch, spending their money, and they're paying the tax already as well. And so you're not talking about it moving the needle for our folks, but it'll move it as far as cost, but it'll move the needle as far as savings for our folks. So in my viewpoint, it just makes sense. Any other questions, comments, gentlemen?
Mr. Vice Chairman, I'd like to say, I campaigned on lowering property taxes, and until I'm presented with a better method of doing that, this is a viable option that I see that we can use, and the people have a say-so in it. I was in a meeting the other day with the county manager, Mr. Burns, and I mean, thank goodness I've never had to use my volunteer fire department, but I don't mind paying them the money that they get out of my taxes. I hope to God I never have to use them. I've never ridden in a Burke County ambulance. I hope I never have to, or any of my family. I've never used the animal shelter, but I don't mind spending that $7 a year to support that thing in case a bear comes up in my yard and I don't want to tackle that thing. So I think the voters are smart enough to decide whether or not they want their property taxes lowered and maybe add a Coca-Cola a month to their tax bill.
You haven't had to utilize our jail facilities either.
No, thank God. Sheriff, you thank you for that.
Gentlemen, any other questions, comments on this issue?
I just encourage us to give the voters a voice, let them decide.
If there's no other comments, gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-14 as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. Motion carried 4-0, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, that'll bring us to reports and comments. I'll now open the floor for those. Western County Finance Officer,
No comments, thank you.
our County Attorney,
Nothing for me tonight, thank you.
Madam Clerk,
No comments, thank you.
County Manager. Yes, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Well, I'd like to say that I am glad to see that East Burke community is going to get them a new elementary school down there. I applaud Mr. Lawson and Dr. Swan for their efforts in helping to bring that here. Representative Tim Moore, I think he was a driving force behind that. I'm glad to see that, and I'm glad to see us be able to alleviate a little bit of the problem over at, if all this goes through, that if we will be able to alleviate some of the social services and health department problems they have with overcrowding.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burns.
Not much to report, just want to say that the Western Piedmont Council of Governments Policy Board will meet here in Morganton next Tuesday evening, and I look forward to having them here.
That's at the Community House, correct? Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Mr. Carswell, I know you've been burning the roads up in the airlines.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Board, for allowing me to go to Tampa, Florida to represent Burke County at the National Association of Counties Conference. I'm happy to report that North Carolina, for the first time in 20 years, we now have an officer on the NACO board. The second vice president, we elected George Dunlap from Mecklenburg County, the chair of Mecklenburg. Overwhelmingly, he received 67% of the delegates' votes down here, which was fantastic. I did make another opioid presentation in front of the NACO conference. There is still more money. The Department of Justice in North Carolina is still working on lawsuits, and we're going to see some more, as the county manager said. You know, it's $713,000 in the scheme of things versus our other monies that we got, but it's still $713,000 that we can use to help maybe curb the deaths. We are now losing 12 individuals in North Carolina every day from an overdose. So again, I hope nobody ever has to bury their child. I'd like to remind you about our own conference, the NCACC annual conference in Winston-Salem on August the 8th through the 11th. At that conference, I will relinquish the chairman or presidency of the association to Terry Davis from Warren County, just a fine young man. He's moving up into that position, and I'll assume the position of immediate past president. I hope that all of y'all can make plans to be there for those ceremonies. That's all I've got right now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. And I will say, I just want to thank some of the staff, Mark, Alan, and Brian. They attended at the Tacoma. Big crowd there last night, interwater transfer. And I know that was the same presentation you probably have already seen multiple times, but I think it was important for y'all to go, so I appreciate that. Work never ends. It's not a 9-to-5 job, as we all know. Well, gentlemen, at this point, I'm just going to mention a couple courtesy reminders. There will be no pre-agenda meeting in August. August 8th through 11th, NCACC Annual Conference in Winston-Salem. August 20th, Board of Commissioners regular meeting here at 6 p.m. August 30th, thankfully, finally, Jonas Ridge Waste and Recycling Center grand opening at 2 p.m. Also, youth groups interested in leading the Pledge of Allegiance at these meetings, please can sign up via the form on the county's website. Please remember to spay and neuter your pets. Foster or adopt a pet from Burke County Animal Services. And please cover your loads at the convenience centers and the landfill. Don't litter and pick up your trash. And also on that website, thanks again IT, you can use the website Community Beautification to report littered areas. And that's something new we've done in the last year, and it's been quite successful. So trying to make more people aware of that. So at this point, gentlemen, we will receive vacancy announcements from Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and ladies and gentlemen of the audience. We have the following opportunities for citizens to be involved in county boards and committees: the Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, City of Morganton Board of Adjustment and Planning Board for the ETJ areas, Burke County Board of Health, Hickory Regional Planning Commission, Drexel Planning Board for the ETJ alternate seat, the Burke County Board of Adjustment, and the Burke County Planning Board.
Lots of opportunities for our citizens. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Well, gentlemen, I know you're going to be disappointed, but there is no need for closed session tonight. And so that moves us to item number 14, adjournment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I vote we adjourn, and I'll go to Mark Della Hunt's house for a celebration and a party for the opening of the Jonas Ridge Recycling Center.
Yes, sir. And I got a feeling he's got some beverages he can share. All those in favor of the motion, the first part, we'll talk about the second part, please signify with the uplifted hand. That carries 4-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you, everyone.